Back when I was a wee midget, I used to play the original Sword and Soul's Flash game, and it kinda just got lost in my memories. Until I found Sword and Soul Neverseen. But you see, it's just been kinda rotting in my Steam library for over 5 years. So when I was thinking about the first video I wanted to do in this format, I looked through my games and thought this one would be the perfect one. I was thrusted upon a ship with my character Banana Man, which promptly crashed. And we were met with a doll, and the doll kind of threw me at a mole, which I was barely able to kill, and then mosquito, which absolutely beat me to a pulp. After being berated by the doll, he gave us some money to buy access to strength training. With the money he gave us, he literally gave us money to pay him with. Ignoring that, we just had to slice some apples. After that, we repaired the training grounds with more of the money he gave us. He proceeded to make us pay him again to unlock defense training, where he throws apples at us for us to block with a shield. You know, I kinda have a feeling that he just likes beating us. Since we don't slice the apples in time, they hit us, and if we don't block, they hit us too. With the rest of the money he gave us, we used to get some starter gear, which I still don't understand why he doesn't give it to us. After that, he throws us back at the mole and mosquito, this time getting past the mosquito and facing a stronger mosquito with a crown, which we quickly dispatched. We go into the tavern after beating the mosquito with a crown on it and talk to Hops, who tells us about the evil witch. But to beat her, we would need 4 super treasures, the first being a shiny stone. I decided to keep training in melee and got it up to the next rank, which got me to bash ability. One of the best abilities in the entirety of the game. This was able to carry me through a few stages before we run into an optional stage. These are normally harder and give more rewards than normal missions. And I'll just say, these goblins beat my ass! Not even like a young goblin. This old man goblin with a spear one-shot me. After that, I kinda realized my defense was really lacking. But who needs health when you can deal more damage? So I trained my melee until there were no more missions left and proceeded to absolutely annihilate the goblins. But after that, I was immediately met with another optional stage, this one being way harder than the last. At this point, I kinda realized brute force isn't the correct option, so I trained my defense up. And with the money I got from the goblin stage, I unlocked agility training, where the doll tries to hit me and I'm tasked with dodging. Okay, you really can't convince me he doesn't want to just beat me now. He's literally trying to beat me. After training that up, I went back into the fight and got beat up by the moles again. I trained up my defense more and bought the next tier of weapons from the blacksmith. With a little more agility training, I was quite easily able to beat the moles. During this time, I did a few stages and unlocked archery training. And this is where we met Ritz, the first mercenary you can hire after beating her. We also unlocked the museum, which gives you money every day depending on how much you invest and the amount of stuff you have unlocked in the game. Nothing else much interesting happened for the rest of the chapter besides unlocking our house, unlocking sorcery training, and getting the next tier of weapons. And before trying the boss of this chapter, I trained up all my stats to the bronze tier, with my melee and silver. And I may have overestimated the boss, since I was able to do it without taking much damage at all. We go back to Hops and talk to him. He wants us to go get his pupsy. I hire Ritz. Now, mercenaries work in this game is you pay them and they fight with you for 2 stages. And during this time, we met my favorite character in the entirety of the game, Jin. Sometime during the last few stages, we unlock the market, where you can buy rings, rods, and even things that get us clovers. Things we use to feed the mushroom inside the museum, which gives us different types of rewards. I did a bit of fishing during this time, but not much since it's one of the most boring things in this game. But they make you a ton of cash in the museum. Thinking that the enemies are gonna start dealing stupid amounts of damage, I start training my defense again. And I'm able to get a Stumpy pet, which is gonna be my main pet for the rest of the game. With a bit more training, I prepared myself for the next boss battle, hiring Jin and, well, found Pupsy, which looks way stronger than it is. Since the fight was a bit close, I decided to train archery, but mainly for an achievement that I thought was gonna take way longer than it did. Juggling a coin 30 times. This requires being able to keep up with the targets and being able to even hit the coins, which only come in every once in a while. What I thought was going to take hours only took about 30 minutes. Even though it sounds like a short amount of time, it's a long time in one training session for a skill. And when I went outside of the training, it was leveled up all the way to platinum. But somehow in the process of getting that achievement, I entirely neglected melee, making that stat suffer, being way lower than I wanted it to be. After a bit of leveling it up, I was easily able to get past all of the normal stages for the third chapter, Right before the boss of the chapter, I decided it would be likely a good idea to do a bit of fishing so I won't have to do an ungodly amount later. After catching a few fish, I faced off against the third boss and absolutely destroyed him. I checked back in with Hops, who told me I now have to fight some pirates for a pendant. I was fully expecting to go into the seas with a repaired boat, but they were just kinda on the beach. At this point, I kinda realized I was making a problem with melee being too low, but instead of imagining it being too low, it was actually still more than enough. This was my first time going this far inside of the museum, and I found the game stats that actually tracked your progress through the game. 42% is way lower than I thought it would be at this point, but not to linger on it, I did more training, but it still wasn't enough for what came next. The first stage I actually struggled on was the entirety of the game, Legend Hunters. It comprised of 3 very powerful enemies that outclassed me in every way possible. This game goes off a very basic formula. Fight until you can't win, train, go back to winning. But even after training my skills, which I kinda chose the worst ones to train, agility and sorcery, which I don't even know why I chose, since one was completely useless and the other barely raised my health, it seemed I was at a wall. Until I realized I was basically limiting myself. Since I forgot the blacksmith existed. After I got some new weapons, I was barely able to scrape out a win from them. The rest of the chapter was very easy. All B but the boss, which I was barely able to win. Even with her 12 million health, she was just as difficult, if not easier, than the Legend Hunters. We went back to Hops for one last time, as we finally get access to where the witch is. Of course, like any problem, I decided to train. To train a useless skill. Archery is alright and all, but its damage just isn't the best. Even with this, I was easily able to rush through most of the chapter, feeling actually pretty lackluster. The only exciting things that did happen was a giant rock golem that was immune to the bash ability and had roughly 15 million health. But even without my main ability, he was still quite easily beaten. The game just started feeling way too easy at this point. So I just decided to get it over with and went into the witch's tower. But I actually lost. It wasn't a wipe of my team, but it was still a loss. Then I decided to train fucking archery again. About half an hour into training that useless skill, I realized melee is just kinda better and trained that. Even with a small boost in melee, I should have been able to scrape out a win somehow. But it wasn't even close. I absolutely destroyed her, not even getting below 3/4 health. But it didn't end there. Going back to Hops, he was limp and not talking at all. And when I went into the map, a giant mountain was now accessible. I know I've been skipping quite a lot of these battles, but since we're nearing the end, I'll start being a bit more thorough with them. Well, I would if there was anything to really talk about. The only things that really happened was figuring out that she, whoever she was, already had another plaything, as he puts it, and challenges us to see if we can do it. Beating him gives us the best armor in the game. The next thing that happened was we battled Pupsy again, which was labeled Loyal Pet. So I'm going to make a wild assumption here. Whatever or whoever she is, probably on Pupsy. Or in even more surprising news, she might have made the doll. I mean Pupsit. He says that he's still hers and tries to battle us, which we're easily able to beat. And then we move on to her. A child. I think Pupsit needs some explaining to do. Ignoring that, the battle was pretty hard, and even harder when we reached the second phase. But it turns out when you have a max rank melee, it's not like she can do anything much. After that, we go back to Hops, which it turns out is being controlled by her. And with that final piece of dialogue, we're done with the game. Well, after we beat the game, she comes down and fixes our ship for us to have fun, making it basically an infinite mode. This is gonna be where we tie up everything we did, starting off with getting Soul Master tier on every skill, along with getting every lost child, which can be found around the map. The late game gets super grindy, forcing us to spend upwards of 2 hours per skill to get mission medals for all of them. I also needed to catch all the fish required for the museum, so I just decided to get it finished as soon as I possibly could, going from the swamp ocean and up into the cliffs to fish. Next things we needed to do was take care of all the pets in the game. We can do this with the first thing we ever bought from the shop, the flute. And every once in a while, I've just been going into the market to buy books which teach us the specific melody for each pet. I actually made a mistake here, I only caught 8 of the 11 pets. You see, some pets have variants I forgot about, but when I realized, I quickly finished them up. And up until now, I haven't had any trouble in the trainings, especially with the medals. But the medal that took me the longest to do in terms of combo medals was definitely the combo medal for agility. Not even lying, over 3 hours of footage just trying to get this medal. It wouldn't even be hard if it didn't take so long to get the combo started, because you see, it takes a good 2 minutes to get to the 200 out of the 300, and about 30 seconds to get 200 to 300. But at this point, pups would attack so fast, they're gonna need near instant reactions to be able to dodge. But for me, it only got hard when he rolled or blocked. You see, it got me off my rhythm when he did these things, and made me mess up more often. For the rest of the game, it's really just the same thing over and over. If you don't have friendship with the mercenaries, you bring them with you into Endless, and even if you do have their friendships maxed, it's still a good idea to bring them in with you for extra bulk. And after you use up all the mercs, you switch to doing 5 to 10 missions in the dojo for a skill of your choice, and at the end of the loop, you go into the museum and spend the clovers you got from training, and Endless to get more money,